What's the most ridiculous thing a new hire has tried to take over at your job? I've worked in the same bakery for nearly 10 years. Cakes, pastries, specialty orders. This place has been my second home for so long that I could decorate a cake blindfolded and still get the piping straight. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest craft and I take pride in it. The owner, Henry, is a relaxed, fair guy who took over 6 years ago, and he's always trusted me to keep the decorating side of the bakery running smoothly. Then came Jake. Jake had been hired recently as a bakery assistant. His job was simple: package products, restock shelves, wash trays, rotate inventory, basic support work. He had no background in baking, decorating, or kitchen work at all. Before this job, he'd been a web designer, and from the moment he walked in, he acted like he was the most skilled person in the room. He made comments about how creative he was, how he had an eye for aesthetics, how decorating cakes was just composition and color theory. At first I ignored it. People brag, people talk. Not everyone understands that bakery work is its own craft. But Jake wasn't just talk. He started stepping into my tasks as if he'd been hired to replace me. If I turned around for a moment, he'd be mixing frosting. If I walked to the freezer, he'd be attempting to smooth a cake round. If I stepped away to wash a spatula, he'd be piping borders onto an order. None of it was good. Not even close. One afternoon, I found him constructing a 4-tier cake on his own, using leftover rounds he'd grabbed without asking. It wasn't for a customer. He just wanted to experiment. That's when I started saving everything he ruined. Over the next week, the blast freezer filled with evidence. 11 ruined customer orders, 4 bowls of frosting whipped into unusable foam, 2 entire racks of crumb-coated rounds we didn't need, a mountain of sloppy cupcakes with crooked icing, one strange, leaning 4-tier cake Jake was proud of for reasons unknown. Every time I quietly remade an order, I placed Jake's version in the freezer. I never yelled, never called him out, I just worked. But it was clear that something needed to change, so I reached out to Henry, the owner. We met for coffee, and I told him everything: how Jake kept interfering, how he dismissed the rules, how he wasted product, and how he kept insisting I was training him, even though I'd told him countless times he wasn't supposed to touch orders at all. Henry listened, and although he's normally calm, he looked genuinely concerned. He said he'd stop by the bakery that coming Tuesday. Tuesday arrived, and sure enough, Jake was already decorating one of my orders. The piping was shaky, the colors were wrong, and the writing looked like it had been done on a moving bus. I kept my distance and sliced bread, just letting the scene unfold. Henry walked in quietly. He watched for a moment and then asked with clear irritation, "What exactly are you doing?" Jake puffed up, proud of himself, and announced that he was decorating a customer's cake. Henry raised an eyebrow and told him he was hired as a bakery assistant, not a decorator. Jake tried to claim I had been training him. I told Henry calmly that I absolutely had not. Henry asked both of us to follow him to the blast freezer. I opened the door and showed him everything. Every ruined order, every wasted bowl, every unnecessary cake round, every sloppy cupcake, the entire rack of Jake's impulsive creations. Henry stared for a long moment. Jake went pale. He asked Jake why these orders were ruined or unfinished. Jake tried to push the blame onto me, then said he was being efficient, then claimed he could finish them faster than I could if he were just given the chance. He changed his story 3 times in 30 seconds. Henry didn't say much. He just told Jake to follow him to the manager's office. I went back to work, wondering what would come next. An hour later, Henry returned to the bakery. He apologized for everything I'd been dealing with. He said he had let Jake go for product waste, insubordination, and refusing to follow direction. Apparently, Jake had gotten quite rude during their conversation, which sealed it. Henry told me he'd temporarily assigned Jenna, the calmer, newer baker, to help me until he could find a proper replacement. She was steady, respectful, and actually listened when I taught her something. It was a relief just having the bakery quiet again. As for Jake, I still don't fully understand what he thought he was doing. Some people underestimate skilled work because they don't understand it. Some think creativity in one field automatically makes them experts in another. Maybe he wanted control. Maybe he wanted attention. Maybe he simply believed he was better than everyone around him. Whatever the reason, he's gone now, and my bakery is peaceful again.